Hi, this is Susan from 5minutesformom.com, and I'm very excited to have Kim Garst from Boom Social. Kim is an expert in all things social media. She has been around the social media world since before it was called social media, and she is going to share some expertise on cyberbullying. Since she knows all the ins and outs of social media for all ages, she's an expert to give us as parents insight in how we can protect our children from cyberbullying. So welcome, Kim.
Thank you. I'm thrilled to be with you today.
So Kim, can you tell us the #1 thing parents should be doing to protect their kids from cyberbullying?
I think the very, and this is going to be a pat answer, it's going to come across as, oh my goodness, I can't believe she said that, but I think the #1 tool that we have at our disposal is communication. Being involved, you know, I think that is the very best thing, literally. I mean, if we can communicate with our kids and let them know that we're a safe haven for them, you know, that they can talk to us and that we know what's going on in their lives, I think that's the best tool across the board. I mean, there's some other things we can do, you know, as parents to be aware, but I think that literally the best thing we can do is communicate with them, honestly.
Mm-hmm. And so as parents, I mean, that's always such a huge challenge. Kids at different ages, some of them are more communicative than others, but it's so hard to get kids to tell us the truth. What do you say about how to get your kids to tell you all of their true online identities, and what kind of questions should you ask? And should you ask them for their passwords and actually be reading their conversations?
Well, I think there's two pieces of this. The age of the child is a big piece, because as they get older, they do have some sense of privacy. You know, they want that privacy, and they want to know that the things that they're, you know, sharing is not being looked at by parents. Mm-hmm. But the reality is that, and it's a fine line, because if they know that you're watching and looking and paying attention to what they're putting out there, they're going to find another means of communicating. So you have to be watching without them being aware that you're watching. Or if you do have an open line of communication with them, then, you know, chances are they're going to tell you a lot of things, or at least, you know, open the door to having those conversations with them to where they feel safe in sharing certain things with you. I think a lot of it goes back to communication, but you're right. A lot of parents don't have that line of communication, or, you know, some children are just more resistant to sharing. You know, the reality is, and this is a big problem across the board with cyberbullying, is that 50% of children have been cyberbullied or are participating in cyberbullying, and 7% of parents are aware of it. I mean, that's a big disconnect.
It is a huge disconnect, and how shocking the types of things kids are saying. I mean, most parents would just drop dead at
seriously, right?
Imagining the kinds of things these kids are saying, and that their little girls are sending pictures of themselves naked.
Yes. Well, not only that, it's not even that. My sister and I were just talking about this. It's more of a it's almost like a denial. Our kids wouldn't do that, right?
Yes.
I mean, so we assume that our kids wouldn't act like that, and the reality is they are, and they're doing things.
It's crazy, and at young ages, it just gets younger all the time.
They do, and you know that they're exposed to so much today, and there's that barrier. They feel safe. They would never say some of this stuff in person to, you know, some of the people that they talk to, but that barrier of, you know, you're on the other end of your phone, you know, because most bullying takes place in text messages usually. Some of it will take place online. I call that more of cyber drama. You know, kids get into a spiff, and, you know, other kids jump in on it, and so there's just that disconnect, I think, of between. There's several disconnects. There's the communication disconnect. There is also the disconnect between parents' savviness, technological savvy, and knowing where to look for certain things. You know, lots of parents aren't savvy enough to know what's going on online, so their kids are, you know, they're online, they're looking at whatever they want to look at, and parents simply aren't aware that it's happening. And they don't, again, it goes back to, it's just lack of knowledge. So educating ourselves as parents and understanding, what's actually going on social media, on whether it's Facebook or Twitter or wherever. One of the things that a lot of kids are doing now is, I have older children. So my oldest is 17, and he calls me a creeper. So he basically stopped, doing a lot of his stuff on Facebook and went to Twitter. Like, he's going to hide from me on Twitter?
Yeah,
what
exactly.
Parent, probably.
You have 130,000 followers or something.
Exactly. But that goes back to, they think that, they can hide from us. Mm-hmm. There's a couple of other apps out there, like Snapchat, for example, which Snapchat worries me because literally these kids are communicating. They're sharing a lot of inappropriate things. And, it disappears in 10 seconds. So they think
how long does it take them to do a screenshot and boom, it's gone?
Exactly.
It's ridiculous. I know that is, I've heard about that app too, and I thought that is just such a false sense of security.
Sure is. Because literally all they have to do is do a screenshot, and, now that, before you know it's up on Facebook, right?
Oh, exactly. To be honest, I think my girls are still too young to be worrying about this quite yet. They're 5 and 7, right. But it'll be coming up fast. And yes. One of the things I think I really want girls to stop doing is taking photos of themselves. Like, we just, as a mom, like, if you can, or a father, any parent, try to really emphasize, don't take pictures. Like,
yes.
If it's a photo, it's going to get out there.
Yes.
One of the lines that I sort of say to myself because I'm a mom blogger, all right? So by definition, my life is very public, all right?
Right.
But I have been very cognizant of that privacy sort of decisions and how much I'm going to share. And my sort of line is, if I wouldn't be comfortable with the pastor at a church reading it out in front of every single person I know or might want a job from one day, I won't type it.
Exactly. Very good. Very good. And I think, you were talking about your kids being, 5 and 7. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And the reality, though, is now start educating them on just stranger danger. I mean, we talk stranger danger. That's true on social media as well. Yeah. If you don't know them, and they're requesting a photo of you, because it starts out innocently enough. It can start out just like that. Send me a picture. I want to see what you look like. And before you know it, these creepers, have tons of personal information. And, as they grow, all of that information is out there. Once it's out there, you can't recall it. HR departments are looking at this kinds of stuff today. There's just so many aspects of how this is going to impact our children. So I think we need to start young. I think we need to start communicating, things that we expect from them, so that they know that these things are unacceptable and there's consequences to them.
Mm-hmm. So now, what should we do as parents if our child has already made the mistake and perhaps they've come to us and told us, or we've discovered it in some way? What steps should we take next?
Well, I think it depends on what level it's at. Like, for example, if our child comes to us, one, they need to know first that we're a safe haven for them, that they can come to us, even if they've been involved in it at some point, because usually what happens with cyberbullying is, especially on the front side of it, is there's, it happens and then they react to it. Yes. So, they can't help it. It's just as adults, sometimes we're sharp enough, we're more mature, and sharp enough's not the right word, but more mature that we can handle, an odd, criticism or whatever. But I think listening to them first and letting them know that we're there for them, don't threaten to take away their computer, because then they'll just, go.
Well, yeah, that's one of the biggest things, right? Yes. That they're afraid you'll take away their technology. So
yes.
They have to trust that you're not just going to pull away their phone or their computer.
Exactly, because in today's world, that's big stuff. I mean,
that's their line.
That's their life, and they communicate that way. So don't threaten to take away their computer or their phone or whatever, because again, that's their safety net for them and their communication means. Never minimize it, because if you say, oh well, it'll go away, just ignore it. please don't do that, because it's normally doesn't go away. And I think, you know, if it continues, you can go to the school. If it's something that's happening at school, let, you know, the administration know that it's happening. They can be on the lookout for it. You know, you can talk to the parents. Usually, though, you know, parents, again, go to that denial. My kid wouldn't do that kind of thing. But at least you have approached it and you know, got it out there. But I think that, you know, it can go all the way back to, you know, if it continues, you have to go to the police. Because it can get to that point where there's threats of physical violence. Sometimes physical violence happens, and you know, you just have to watch it. I think you have to be very cognizant of it. And I think the worst thing that you can do is ignore it. And I think you have to watch for signs of it today, because 50% of kids won't tell their parents.
Exactly. Exactly.
So,
and a lot of the reaction and with the deadly consequences of suicide happens so fast. I was just watching that the new producer cut for the new documentary called Submit. I don't know if you've seen it. If you've seen it yet, it's just going to be coming out. And on there, they share a story of this girl that the mom had been so involved, and this child was quite young. I can't remember exactly, early teens, and the mom had been even involved in supervising and involved in the conversation. The bullying incident happened so fast, like happened, and then so fast, the girl hung herself upstairs in her bedroom while she was downstairs 20 minutes after it had happened. And,
oh my gosh.
And so the thing is, it's so terrible how fast the suicides can happen from it. And I think that's one of the biggest risks. We often think, oh, that the predator can get to our, you know, to our children, but their biggest danger is their depression, their immediate reaction to
well, they don't.
suicide.
You know, it's like one of those things where you know, a temporary problem is solved by a permanent solution.
Exactly.
I mean, they don't have that maturity to handle that. It's just so overwhelming to them that they take drastic action. Yeah, and exactly. It's so sad.
I know,
so
and
sad.
that's, I think, I mean, just the suicide rates from all the different forms of bullying, I think that's one of the things that scares me the most about it. And, you know, as parents, we have to realize that might seem like such a huge, huge step that our kid would never take. But like we just said, and like you just said, kids don't see the future in the same way. Their life is today. And if their life is horrible today, it will always be horrible, and they need to escape it. That's sort of how they end up thinking. And they take this permanent and most tragic solution. But yes, I definitely would encourage parents to talk to the schools. Schools are getting more and more responsive now. Now that the media is picking up on this with movies like Bully, and school administrations are getting a lot more pressure to start taking this into account. And there's legal cases often involved with schools now not paying enough attention. So you need to make yourself heard, and you need to be the advocate, like you said, for your child. So your child sees that you're taking action and that you're taking them seriously, listening to them, not punishing them by taking away their technology, but helping them to and showing them how to take responsible action to protect themselves.
Well, you know, so many of us parents of our generation have just been taught, you know, toughen up. And, you know, and you can't take that approach anymore. It's not the same. No. It's not like they're, you know, smacking you on the playground or, you know, teasing you or pulling your hair, or, you know, it's not quite the same anymore. I mean, not to say that those things aren't still happening, but it's so much more personal and invasive and more out there. You know, there's more people who know about it versus, you know, somebody punched you on the playground and, you know, maybe a couple of people noticed. Now
it's been uploaded to YouTube, and the whole world sees you know, you being pushed down and all the horrible things that happen, and especially so often it involves sexual harassment too, especially when girls are involved and teens. They're just exploited in the most demeaning of all ways, and that's just the saddest thing. And I mean, especially as parents, we just need to educate our girls so much about.
Seriously, I'm a big proponent of starting early, and
Yeah,
starting to share with them, especially, just core values that you and your
yeah,
family subscribe to. And then as they get on social media and they have access to technology, transferring those types of values over to that environment. And lots of times I think now kids are getting pulled in to the
yeah,
bully situation. They may not have that. They may not be the bully, but they are pulled into commenting on things, and there's a
yeah,
perception that they're involved.
exactly.
And so it's just such a huge problem, and it has such horrible consequences in some cases that
Hmm.
I really think parents have to, one, wake up and
That's
really
true.
start paying attention to what's happening with their children. If they see drastic mood changes, if they see things happening, they need to be aware of what's going on. They need to really educate themselves on how to check certain things online,
Hmm.
passwords and profiles, and looking for certain things. What kind of pictures are their kids sharing? I
Yeah.
think it's just such a huge issue, and the disconnect for me is just shocking, honestly,
Hmm.
that so many parents just are not. They don't even have this on their radar screen,
Yeah.
and
No, it's true.
and it worries me.
That's true. All right. Well, thank you so much, Kim. Absolutely agree that as parents, the most important thing we need to do is get aware and get talking with our kids,
Absolutely,
and helping them
absolutely,
realize we're on the same page. Like, we have the same goal. We
right,
want them to enjoy their time online and be safe and protected. I mean, ultimately, our
absolutely,
girls and our boys do not want their lives destroyed and shown online in a horrid way. They don't want that to happen. And
and
we
they
just need to
shouldn't want
help
it
them
for
understand
anybody.
we just want to help protect them as well. It's not like we're
Exactly,
even trying to say we don't want you to have fun. We want
right,
you to have fun. We just don't want your life destroyed. you know.
exactly.
So
That's the
we need
piece
to
that they
help them
don't
realize.
see. They
Oh,
don't
pardon
see
me.
that piece sometimes.
Oh, wait, I missed that. What?
They don't see that piece of what could happen. They don't see the consequences sometimes.
Exactly. And I think that's one of the reasons I'm extra happy, impressed that these movies are coming out, like
Yes,
Bully, and if this new one called Submit, if this comes out, and just to help them understand the consequences. And and even sharing with them about news stories that you find out when you hear a news story that another child has committed suicide because of bullying, tell your kids that. Like, share with them
absolutely.
the consequences on both sides and help them to understand that the bystander is really such an important role that they can change from just being a bystander that
Yes,
either might not be being helpful or might have already crossed into being joining in with the bullying, but instead what they're saying, instead of being a bystander, be an upstander. And
yes.
that
Love that.
we need to change
Yeah.
to be actively helping and be, I think Barbara Colaroso's line is to be a witness, resistor, defender, or something like that,
Ooh,
I think it is.
yes. Right.
And really help them to see if they see a friend of theirs being bullied online,
Yes.
or in person, that they need to help that friend, support that friend, help that friend to take positive action. But another, I think, just as before we leave here, one other quick point I think we need to educate our kids is if they see their friend being bullied online, not to try to solve it themselves
Yes.
by joining in, like, or launching a counterattack. I think also when you're being bullied online, it's important not to counterattack online
Yes.
and to get yourself involved and sort of get down to their level and get all messy like that in a cross-bullying attack. So I
Right.
think it's important to educate our kids on that side as well, what to take as bystanders, how to help as a
If you're not,
bystander.
I always say that, sometimes we're not brave enough as children to step into the fray like that. But
Yeah,
if you're not and you know it's wrong, then go get help. At least
exactly.
take that step. Go to an adult that you trust and let them get involved. It's never, I agree with you wholeheartedly, it's never a good thing to get into the drama of the event, because you'll just get dragged. I always say, if you're going to wallow with the pigs, you're going to get dirty. That's kind of the same thought process. Is you can't win in a mudslinging contest. So get some help. If you teach your child, if they're not brave enough to be that upstander on their own, then they can just ask. They can tell somebody else that, an adult, that this is going on. They witnessed this, and now somebody else can handle the situation.
One more question that I'd like to ask you before we leave. Do you know, is there any hope for getting help from Facebook? For example, if there's posts and things happening on Facebook, can you report it there? Will they take it down?
Well, supposedly they do, but Facebook has over a billion members, right? And they're not renowned for their customer service. I mean, honestly, they're not. But I think if it comes their way and they see the seriousness of it, they absolutely handle it. But again, they get thousands of requests daily, and you really almost have to have, I think, an in with Facebook. Like, we had a situation where we actually took action on behalf of one of our clients because they were in a bullying situation, and Facebook did actually take action. But we're in a mentorship with Facebook, so we had an in, and we just utilized that. But it's a problem. It really can be a huge problem, and getting the attention of whether it's Twitter or Facebook or whoever is sometimes difficult, and to get them to take things down. Especially explicit photos. I mean, I think they act on those probably much faster than they act on verbiage. But I mean, literally, there's kids that are taking inappropriate photos, even without the knowledge of the person they're taking the photo of sometimes, and then sharing that on social media. And it's just it's just a sad. I don't know. I'm hoping that as we move forward, there are consequences in place, or being put into place. If you are cyberbullying, in some cases they'll you lose your ISP account. You'll lose your cell phone privileges. I mean, they'll take those. In other words, the parent doesn't have any say in the matter. So there are some things that they're doing, but it's such a prevalent problem that it's. I mean, it really does need some awareness built around it.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I really hope that these giant social media sites do start putting in more protection in place. But in the meantime, we have to do it. We have to protect our kids ourselves. Right. So thank you so much, Kim, for all these suggestions. And everyone can visit Kim at kimgarst.com. And for more on bullying and cyberbullying, we talk about that a lot at 5minutesformom.com. And you can go to 5minutesformom.com/bullying to find more information on how to protect yourself and your children from cyberbullying. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Susan.